background stuff. All right, looks like we should be live. All right, what's going on, everybody? Today we got another Create With Me live stream. And today I have Bryan Holt back with me from Bryan Holt Media doing special visual effects. Thanks for joining me, Bryan. What's going on?
How's it going?
Not too bad, not too bad. Just trying to wind down from the day, you know, and wind up for this. So I'm going to be working on some Photoshop stuff. And so for those that have been kind of following along, I'm doing the Photoshop editing, kind of like enhancing the stuff that I've been creating with Stable Diffusion recently. So I have a couple new pieces, and I actually just generated one right up to the wire. I've been kind of playing around with a different style or different. I'll show you. It's one based off of, I was doing Stable Diffusion 1.5, and I'm now doing 2.0 for those that have been following along. I had that video that I did. Give me just a second. I am trying to share my screen here. We had a bit of a mix up, by the way, with some software, so I apologize for not having everything up and ready for you. So this is actually what I'm going to be working on today. So this girl right here, kind of a battle mage. I had another version that I did. Let me find my Photoshop here. So, oh, hello. That's just before the show. That's actually not too bad. That's not what I was looking for, but it's not too bad. So I had a version with 1.5, Stable Diffusion 1.5, where I had kind of developed this grungy texture with these battle mages, and this was one that same prompt. You can see the prompt up here. Expressionism, art style, hyper-realistic art, yada, yada, yada. I mean, it's a long, this is only a part of it, is in the title. But I really like this style, and it was awesome. So I've been playing around with Juggernaut, which I did a tutorial video on Friday about how to get started with Juggernaut on a Mac, specifically using Draw Things. And so it's the same model. And actually on Reddit, I was talking to a guy on Reddit. He pointed out that it's not lighting, it's lightning. So like the speed, it's lightning fast. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm a photographer, so I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, photo lighting. It's really good for photography based lighting, but it's not photo lighting. It's lightning, which means that you need far fewer steps and much less text guidance to get better results. In fact, if you have, do I have one over here? I'll show you what that same prompt looked like with kind of what the standard of steps and prompts or steps and guidance was. It looks trashy. Hold on, I got a lot. I got a lot that I'm going through here. Let's see. You can see I've done a lot right here. So you can see like this is the same prompt. Everything is exactly the same. All I did was I changed the text guidance and the steps. So I got a much better result once I went down to, I mean, this is pretty badass there. I really like that. But it's not quite right. This is playing around with it. So yeah, I'm going to be working on that guy or that gal rather. And let's go back over here to Photoshop. What was it that I had done some generative fill to kind of expand it? I'm making this a desktop background. This actually made this a freaking awesome, to be honest. Her eyes are kind of messed up there, but like that's a completely different image versus this one here. So I don't hate it. I'm gonna keep this and just generate, kind of fill in the background there so that I have a good desktop background. But that's me. What are you working on, Bryan?
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. I'm sitting here just watching it off screen right now. Yeah, so
you can just pull the screen and
going to, yeah, I'm actually going to do that right now. I don't know why it's not letting me share. Let's try this again. There we
And
go.
I'm using StreamYard, so it won't pop up live. I'm gonna have to give it authorization and pop it up there. So it'll
Yeah.
take half a sec.
Yeah, you're good.
There we
You
go.
are good. There you go. Yeah, so I'm working on this shot right now. Got a pretty solid track yesterday. I mean, this is one of those action VFX shots. I had somebody on my YouTube channel ask for a match move in Nuke. So this is actually already ready to record for tutorial, but I'm going to take a next step further and actually finish the shot. Probably I'll show this in Maya, actually. So let's show this in Maya because it's actually animated right now. Haven't brought the animation over to Houdini just yet. But basically, this dude's going to slam into the ground. We're going to have probably like lightning come out across the ground, and then all the grass is going to get tore up, and he's going to hopefully survive. That's the goal. But yeah, it's a short little animation with some destruction into it. This character is actually one of the test geometry characters in Houdini, so it's kind of funny that I'm using him. But it worked perfect for this purpose. So I actually brought him from Houdini into Maya, and then I'll just bring his animation back into Houdini a little bit later. I have to bake his animation still.
Is that a complicated process to go from one software to the other using another software's base model? Or do they speak enough of the same language that it's kind of like just loading in I know it's more complex than an object, an OBJ, but
I'm not using an OBJ in this situation because OBJ cannot contain it. Well, OBJ won't be able to hold the animation. I'm actually going to be using FBX for this workflow. However, there's a new workflow out there called Universal Scene Description, which is USD, which is being used at the studio level now and is kind of taking the industry by storm. Where I should be able to just like update this asset as a USD asset, and it would auto update in Houdini. Like if I had both open, they would auto update. I don't. I mean, I do have both of them, but I'm not. That's all I'm doing now. So, and I thought about doing USD for this one. It would be a pretty cool thing, thing to do. If I really cared about this shot, I wouldn't be using a pre-built asset from Houdini. I actually would bring another asset in, animate it, and have that. But I mean, I guess I do care about the shot a bit more than I'm letting on. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. I saw the shot be pretty easy. It's actually a relatively easy track. I originally was doing this shot right here. Let's see if I can open it up. I don't know if I'll be able to. I think so. I have too many windows open as it is, but it was here. Images, maybe. Oh well, I probably don't. I don't. But I did actually have this shot that I was working on. That's the reference plate for it. It was in this sequence. It's not exactly the shot, but you can see how it's really shaky cam. Yeah. And I actually got a good track on it, but I was just like, oh man, this is gonna take like an hour tutorial. It's not worth actually doing it. So because I had to do some hand tracking. So I was like, okay, instead of that, we'll do this shot instead. It's really easy to explain the process. So probably be up on the channel next week. I haven't even gotten to recording part. Like I said, I can record this part right now. I just tracked it in Nuke. And I'm actually already in the process of rotoing him out. But I already tracked him in Nuke, doing just a simple 3D tracker. So just a camera track and throwing it together and then undistorting it. Because right now I work off the undistorted plate and then I'll redistort it later for final VFX, but for final comp. But right now, actually what I've been doing today is actually rotoing the guy out of the plate. So
what's that? I know there's an online software that's kind of taken the industry. Well, I'll say quote unquote the industry by storm. It looked really cool. There's some visual effects guys on YouTube that they have a studio and they were showing it, and like you don't really need to rotoscope at all. Like it uses a lot of AI stuff. Have you looked at that at all? Have you seen that? Is that entered into the back end of this software? That kind of tech?
No, yeah. I mean, the Copycat is coming out right now. It's going to be able to roto There's a few other applications that are coming out soon where you're going to be able to roto a lot better. And it honestly will do it for you. Roto Brush, of course, in After Effects is getting better and better. Silhouette, which is its own standalone software, is getting really good. But for the most part, I still prefer to tried and true method of rotoscoping. But that's why I won't do a tutorial on it, because there's no point. You don't need it anyway. But we actually still teach this on ground at the school. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Now I have my own techniques. I mean, you guys are actually looking at one of my techniques right now, where I'm not just rotoing. A lot of students will just roto and hope for the best. I don't do that. I actually use the roto and I create a mat off of it. And then what you're seeing here is that mat, super refined. It's got a little bit of fringing happening right now. So I have to go in and actually work with it a little bit. I don't even have all the frames rotoed. This is all I've got rotoed. So yeah, there's a lot of work still left to do. In fact, I don't even think these did not roto. Did it not save the file? Oh no, it did. Okay. They're there. So if I click on, there you go. So as you can see, I'm not even done rotoing yet. I still have a lot of groundwork to do. And I figured I should do a little bit of this day by day. All I have to do is really roto the soldier. There's not really anything else I'm going to need to roto here for the sake of this shot, because all I'm doing is I'm putting the character behind him, and then the ground will be destroyed. That's just going to be behind him anyways. So if anything, it's just going to be like a little mats here and there to make this look good. Yeah, I think actually we'll take the shot to finish. I know there's been a lot of projects I've done recently that hasn't gone to finish. But I think this one actually will go to finish. It'll be a pretty cool shot to do on the channel. And what's also cool is students or anybody who watches my tutorial can actually get this footage for free from Action VFX. So
nice.
yeah, it's from the free practice footage library. I mean, if you want the 4K, you have to pay, but this one's pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, do you notice? I imagine that with the 4K, it's a lot easier to roto, because just as if you need it tight, because you have a higher quality image to zoom in, and you don't have as much blurry pixelation. But then again, at the same time, it's 4K footage, so it's going to take a lot more time to render and then process.
Yes and no. Yeah, just like you said right there, like 4K footage is going to take a lot of time to process. Although these computers are pretty fast now. You have to be on pretty much a toaster to not be able to handle 4K in 2024. But because I mean, we're working on 6K footage now, you know, and some people that I work with are actually working on 12K. I mean, you don't work on 12K footage, you de-res it, but like 12K footage. So yeah, I mean, this is just 2K 1080. It's not true 2K, it's actually 1080 HD. But yeah, I don't really see the need right now to go and get the 4K footage. It's just fine.
Yeah.
But you would get cleaner margins, get cleaner matte edges as well too, if you the higher resolution. That's why you go higher resolution.
Yeah.
But also, as many people say, more resolution means more problems.
Yeah.
So it just means because it's high resolution, you're going to be able to notice every single thing that's wrong.
Yeah, and like what we were talking about last time, where like you have more frames per second, so there's a lot more kind of clarity with each frame, and you don't have the blurriness, so it feels a little unnatural in some cases. I feel like the same thing if you have something that's ultra, like if you did 12K footage, I feel like it'd be so sharp that it would be, and you can tell me, but I feel like that would make the VFX less realistic, like in the sense of like you can see that way sharper, then it's not as blending as well with like the blurriness of it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to push into the uncanny valley really quickly because you're going to be able to do a lot of cool things. But when you get closer and closer there, you are going to, like I said, more resolution, more problems. You can see the things that are wrong, but you can also see the things that are too perfect. And we're not shooting for perfection. That's the reality. Like that's just the truth. You're not shooting for perfection. And this is a big reason why, by the way, like I got into huge debates like about 2 weeks ago on Twitter, where somebody, I forgot who it was, but they posted about how Davy Jones from the early Pirates of the Caribbean movies is still one of the best CGI characters of all time. Which, to be fair, I actually would agree. That is still top notch. It's crazy to me that it there was some voodoo magic done back then by the CGI artists, because like we're just not getting technology today to even get close to what they did back then, and that's just a lot of talent that they showcase. And I have my own reasons for that. But a lot of it too is because they had their limitations, and those limitations kept them from perfection. And I think
Yeah.
keeping them from perfection is what, to us, or not to us, but like to the general public, to them that's perfect, and that's why that CGI looks so good. I can make the argument that the CGI for Davy Jones is great; it holds up, but it's not the best. I think there's way better CGI characters out there right now, actually, that I would put toe to toe with Davy Jones. But it was, I will agree, one of the best of the best.
Well, I think that that's it. Also, is like, what are you counting as quote unquote the best? Like, what are you saying technically the best? Like, it has the most, polygons per inch or whatever. I don't know. Or like, does it flow and move the way that you would kind of expect, so you don't feel like any part of it is unnatural, really?
Right.
So like, for example, I don't know about, like, that stands out. I know I've seen that on Reddit quite a bit. Like, people have been making that comment, so it's going around the interwebs.
Yeah.
But I'm 2 points. I'm curious about the budget that they had on that, and then like, what are the other characters that you would kind of put up against that you were just mentioning that
Yeah. I mean, there's so many out there. There's this one. I'm gonna put up my screen here in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorites of all time, and one of the reasons why it's my favorites of all time is because it utilized both the live action and the CGI. Ava, right off the bat, I'll put up there. You've got Thanos, MCU. Let's do Endgame. Right? I mean,
yeah, he was real good,
dude. He like, and what's crazy to me, 3 different studios handled Thanos in Infinity War and Endgame. Like, it wasn't just one studio doing Thanos. I think Weta Digital, the company that I mentioned last time, did the final act of Thanos. I could be wrong. No, they did. No, yes, they did. Wait, maybe not.
I'll tell you why people feel like Davy Jones is kind of the best out of all of them. Thanos, great example. They did such a great job. But I feel like, because he looks so human-esque, he doesn't, like, he's got that like weird chin, right? But Davy Jones has all the tentacles and like the piano playing scene, and like, it's unique in that, not that Thanos isn't, but he's more human-like versus Davy Jones. So I think it's a lot easier to feel impressed with good CGI when it comes to something like Davy Jones versus a more human-like looking guy. And so I think that that's where probably it comes from, because like I didn't think twice about Thanos. I remember in the early ones, like, he looked a lot more purple and he wasn't as polished, like the first reveal. But then obviously, what was it, 10 years later, like, he feels so natural.
Yeah.
And to your point, that's the idea, is like to feel natural.
Well, I mean, also, like, those early scenes where he was just in the post-credit scenes, there's not a lot of money being poured into that, right? But when he is being used for the central villain, you're going to pour a lot of money into him, which they did. And here's the thing. Here's an article that Steve Daly wrote. Like, I think this was written over almost 20 years ago now, 18 years ago, about why this looked amazing. That's 18 years ago. And honestly, you can make the argument this still looks good. But I would also make the argument, one of the reasons why Davy Jones looks so good is a couple of reasons. One, editing, setting, and just honestly craftsmanship. There's clearly craftsmanship here. But here's the thing. Look at the specular. I mean, just in this image alone, I know this is pretty degraded and old, but look at this specular in this image. It works really well because this is a character that lives underwater. And so it makes sense that he would have this really driven specular look to him, whereas it wouldn't make so much sense on Thanos. And so It's why it looks good. And I think also editing as well goes into it. You don't put your character in the limelight. I just posted a reel on my social media. Actually, I think I posted on YouTube of this scene right here. Let me pull that up. Park T-Rex scene. Everybody's favorite scene right here. Let's pull up from movie clips on YouTube. Again, this is live stream over live stream, but we'll see how it looks. No sound. I'm not even going to do sound. Oh, the T-Rex is already out of the paddock. What the heck? But anyways, this is puppet. But when the T-Rex comes out of right here, okay, this is a CG T-Rex, and it looks so good. I mean, you'll see it fall apart right here, but notice they made the conscious decision to say, okay, we're going to have this scene at night and in the rain. So the character is wet and you can't see the shadow issues, the occlusion issues that are occurring. There's no ambient occlusion here. And it holds up to 2024, almost over 30 years.
Yeah.
30 years later.
And these are early day.
Old.
I wouldn't say necessarily early day VFX, but like those are, I mean, it's 30 years ago. So just that by itself, but then like that, I know that they were so much more intense to do visual effects back then. The computer processing power wasn't there. Like we can do so much in the blink of an eye right now. So it's
no, I mean, you have to understand. Part of it too is a lot of the people who worked on this came from the creature shop, so they're very good at making good, high quality textures. They're good at making high quality looking. They've studied locomotion, how characters actually move, which is funny because they actually had to change how they did a lot of it in this as well. And it's really important that people understand this. That is the first character of that magnitude ever tried. Up until this point, you had Terminator 2, but you're trying to put a character that nobody's actually really seen before in real life and trying to get them to believe in it. It's one thing to have a character that is human-like running around, and you can make the argument in Terminator 2, and pull that up, which came out 2 years before this. Oops, sorry, I moved that. Let's see here. Right here, it's a great example on this scene. Once the ad is done, I stopped paying for premium. It looks good, right? I mean, it's 1991, early visual effects, and obviously, like some of the shots in this are just absolutely insanely good, right? Where he goes through the bars.
Yeah.
This is still one of my favorite movies of all time. But yeah, it's just see if I can find the shot with him there.
So it's funny. So that was in California, and it wasn't until I moved to California that I saw basins like that.
Yeah,
like is that the LA River that they're in?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fun. That's also funny because out here rivers are, natural rivers, right? That's just wherever the rivers flowed through the woods. And someone told me that was the LA River. He's like, "Oh yeah, go to the LA River." I'm like, "Where? Like, where is it?" And so, because it was always bone dry, and it's a basin, whatever those things are called. What are those things called? Culvert.
They're the storm channels.
Storm channel. Yeah. So I saw that. I was like, "Oh yeah, no way. Okay."
Yeah.
This.
And it's just like this. I mean, that's clearly a puppet, but like the visual effects. These hold up, right? But really, no character had been attempted to this scale until 1993. And it is absolutely insane that this holds up to this day. But keep in mind, a lot of that is because if this character is put in the daylight right now in front of you, it wouldn't work. Now, there is a shot later in the movie where they have a CG T-Rex. And they actually do an excellent job. So T-Rex eats. So there's a CG. Obviously, this had to be CG. You can't create a puppet T-Rex to this size. And I think this shot's also really well done. But you can make the argument that it doesn't look as good. Again, editing as well. It's only on. See, you can even see, like, look at this. It's not actually in the plate as well as you would think, and like a character nowadays. I mean, it's standing out of the plate. We'll put it that way. But the edit is really well done. Why? Because your focus is right here. I don't have my annotation tools up right now, but I teach this to my students. Look at the shot composition. Your eye is all focused right here. Like, that's where your eye is focused. So you don't get to sit there and look at all these issues with the muscle not moving properly. It still looks really good. I mean, this is still, to this day, right? It's just a little rigid. We can watch it again so you can see it. But it's just a little rigid on the T-Rex, on the animation. You can see how the muscle's not quite moving the way it would move. It's like just one big ball kind of moving with the leg.
Yeah.
There should be like deformation there. But it's so good. And this is daytime CGI. This is actually where like they shined a lot.
Well, I remember the first time we see a dinosaur is with the Brontosaurus, and they see it out there, and then they step out, like he stands up in the Jeep. And I mean, that's a very impactful thing. But like, to your point about the grunge, and the atmosphere, adding the rain and the darkness to hide a lot of stuff. I mean, we do that in photos whenever we composite. If you composite, like I composite myself into an old photo with my dad, which I've done, I have to I have to pixelate myself, and I have to, obviously change the lighting to be more, relate better to how the lighting was with him. But then overall taking and adding some texture or some blur or something to the entire image to kind of grunge it up a little bit, it helps to hide all those imperfections of whatever I may have missed or couldn't quite get right in the composite. So like, it's such a good little tool, that you'd be like, wait, I'm gonna ruin it to make it better, and that's
right.
Yeah.
And here's another point to make. Another reason why these movies were so successful, and this isn't to knock the talent today, by the way. The talent today is really talented, and in fact, they're really, really good. I just think there's just such a high demand now for good visual effects that we rush to hire so many artists, and we rush to make these movies out. Which one of the benefits I think of the current state of the industry right now, which this is no secret, the current state of the industry is in shambles. Right now, my LinkedIn is just rife with thousands of artists who are out of work, and that's just the truth. But if you look at this, the craftsmanship that was involved, a lot of these guys, like the Dennis Muir is a VFX supervisor here. And a lot of these guys worked in the shop at ILM, work on Star Wars, work on their other movies, and they had to actually practically do a lot of this stuff. And then they're trying to do it inside of the computer. This is why I actually tell my students at LA Film School, you need to get familiar with working on you need to get familiar with working on like actual tangible stuff. Grab a camera, go shoot, see how light works. And here's why. Because there are even issues with this shot right now. So if you watch this, Dennis Muir is telling Steven Spielberg is, hey, by the way, the lighting that you're going to shoot this, you need to be in a specific way. Because if you notice, there's no way to actually do these super accurate shadows. Also, by the way, look at his tail. You've probably seen this movie about 100 times at this point, right? Mm-hmm. You've seen this movie a lot. Look at his tail. What's wrong with his tail?
Well, as far as like the lighting goes,
no, look where his tail is.
Just
look at the tree. Up. No, look at the tree.
It's in front of the tree.
Yeah, because it's so early in visual effects. That's a lot of work to matte, and so they're able to like, all right, we'll just take your eye and put it here at the Brontosaurus.
Yeah.
And you won't see the issue with the matte. Can you imagine the artist coming in here and be like, you want me to hand paint every single leaf in every single frame?
Yeah.
I mean, they did that right here, but I mean, it looks good.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, and like I said, there's a reason why the lighting is done this way. So you can see the character, the tail right there. You can see the road. You can actually see the matte lines right there.
now
Right
all
there.
I'm
You can
gonna
actually
do, thanks a lot.
see.
Whenever I watch this, I'm just gonna keep looking at the tails.
Yeah. Look at this. Look at this. The matte line right here is there's the light wrap's a little bit off. It doesn't look right. But these are just things that you only notice when you're like breaking this apart. This scene still holds up. This is still one of my favorite movies of all time. But like I said, the lighting's a little bit off though, because right now, if you look, um, you see the light hitting Dr. Grant right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and the shadows are they're just a little bit off. But notice the framing obviously works out that it's a giant dinosaur that you want to look up at, but they never show the ground outside of like the very initial shot. They're not showing the ground, and the shadow is just not that accurate. You know what I mean? It's really close though.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially for the average person, like right there, I would expect to have a little bit darker spots, and then like on the belly, I would expect to have a little bit of brightness just because of the reflection, a little bit brighter than the rest of like around his belly, just because of the reflection of the light from the grass. But I mean, that's really, like you said, picking it apart to a point where it's not worth doing all those things, especially for like a few seconds that people
Right.
might notice, because that's not where the focus is, you know. So
Right. And so coming back to the Davy Jones character, let's look at his very first scene. Because if his first this is the first scene, this means that all the work you're going to do on this character is going to be the first scene, because you need to sell the people at home that this character is real. You can see obviously where the budget went, not into this guy.
yeah.
He still looks good, by the way. Right.
But even right there, where you see his claw in the beginning and it's blurry,
Yeah.
and then they pull focus to it, so having that blurriness as it's going in, that also from a cost perspective, they don't have to make that as good as when it comes into focus. Now I don't know if that's what they did or not, but like just those little things, and this being dirty and grungy, and like you said, the occlusion and everything, but that adds to the whole thing.
I mean, look at this shot right here. I mean, this is just ILM showing off right here, by the way. This is just actually, I'm not even sure if ILM did this shot. I think they did. But this is just a CG artist showing off, though. They're putting flame right next to him.
Yeah, and then blowing it out with his.
Yeah, it's just. Yeah. I mean, it's part of the directing, but like, look at this. It looks so good, and the animation looks so good. We came so far. This is 10 years after Jurassic Park. I mean, it's just so well done. But the point, though, is even today, I don't think this holds up. I just I get what people are trying to say. It looks good. I think it holds up. I just don't think it's the best CGI today. When this came out, this was definitely the best CGI for like 10 years, easily, not even close.
Yeah,
we did, yeah. But I mean, I can.
And the acting was just incredible. Like he just leaned so hard into it, and he did such a great job. And everybody else's responses to it, because overall, like if you look at it as part of the whole package, you don't get as distracted because the acting is so good. The guys reacting to him are also so good. So you just kind of feel that. I do feel like there was some CGI that really didn't hold up well in one of the more recent Pirates movies, and by that I mean like 4 or 5, maybe even 3.
Yeah.
But once they got rid of Davy Jones, Davy
Yeah.
Jones was my favorite. So
Dead Man's Chest will forever be the best. I mean, the best Pirates of the Caribbean movie is the first one, hands down. From a story perspective, everything, visuals, all that. This from visuals, the Dead Man's Chest, amazing, and then they kind of just went off the rails on that World's End. But I mean, here's another thing. Like, you knock what you guys want about Lion King, the character work in Lion King. Look at this. It's just so good. So good. And then, so you have that one. What's a more recent movie that just came out that had a really good character? I mean, obviously you have Avatar, but like, I mean, we're seeing good characters on television. You got the dragons from Game of Thrones. So to sit here and say that Davy Jones, that there's nothing that rivals the quality of Davy Jones, is just, you're blowing smoke, pun intended. So, yeah.
Yeah. No,
All right.
uh, I've I've always been impressed. Avatar, by the way, I went to go see Avatar: Way of Water. I saw it in IMAX with my buddy, and I did feel like the water scene was like when the kids go swimming underwater. Spoiler alert:
Yeah.
they go swimming. But,
Yeah.
I felt like that was a bit long, but because I think it was like 15 minutes of them doing that. But at the same time, I know how difficult it is to do the water, the way that you react, like everything reacts with water, like the hair and everything. And I know that they put a ton of time and effort into doing that. So I feel like they were kind of showing off a little bit because my buddy was starting to snooze. Not that it wasn't a good thing, but that's not what he was in it for.
Yeah.
Um, so all right. So are you going to work on that while we're chatting here?
Yeah, I'll probably do it off screen. It's not going to be that
Yeah.
interesting to look at right now. That's the cool thing about visual effects is there are cool things to look at, and then the actual stuff is sometimes not that cool to look at. So
Yeah.
I
I'll
probably
share.
will. I'll just be hanging out and with you and chat. I know I already mentioned like there might be a moment where I have to step out, but yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to just share, um, some of the cool things that are going on right now. I'm pretty
Yeah. No.
excited. Hopefully, next time I'm on, I'll be able to showcase this shot in its finished form.
Yeah. No, I'd love that. Yeah, and I'm always down for geeking out over this stuff, and
Yeah.
kind of talking about the industry stuff. Because my wife, I love her a lot. You know her, she's wonderful. But she um she her eyes glaze over when I talk about a lot of stuff. So that's
Mine
cool.
does too.
Yeah.
My wife. Yeah, my wife does too. Yeah.
So what I'm doing, I while you were talking, most of the time I was looking at you. Wait, you're over
Yeah.
here. Most of the time I was looking at you and looking at whatever you pulled up. But I was doing a little bit of this in the background.
Mhm.
I actually haven't. There we go. So let's see. So I'm working on the eyes right now, and so this is where I'm at right now for folks that are interested. This is what I started with, and then I upscaled it, and this is where we're at. So this is desktop background. I got it at 6,000, just about 6,000 pixels by 3,300 pixels, somewhere around there. And so I have done a few things. I expanded the sides. Let me go over here. Can we see this? Yeah, we can see this. Okay. So we got, let me go turn these guys off so we can see where we're at. So this is what I have when I fully expanded it. And so I did an overall saturation just to bump the light up, especially these oranges coming from the flames of her hair. The idea here is that she's a mage and she's got like magical powers and stuff. And the her hair is turning into flame. Um, Much like there's a character, God, I think it's called the Flame Elemental, Fire Elemental in Magic the Gathering. And so this is kind of my thought process was that she is kind of like a fire elemental that's turning into like she's going into her flame mode, like her flame uh from her human figure. I'll just call it a mode. And so she's starting to flame on, right? So that's kind of my story behind it. And as I was talking to, let me finish here. So then so that's the overall saturation. Um, and then I went with the eyes. I love doing eyes first if I can. So I just changed the hue saturation. I'll zoom in so people can see here. So I just enhanced the hue and the saturation a little bit over here in this hue saturation layer. And then I masked out everything else but that. And then I have a screen layer, screen curves adjustment layer, and I just, you can see that's the whole thing. And then I just masked it out. So it's just her eyes and just around her eyes. So you can see here, it's a lot harsher here. No, I don't want to say harsher, but a lot stronger right here. And then I feathered it out a little bit because I wanted them to almost feel like they're glowing. And so that's where we're at right now. And then what you saw me doing was adding a little bit of color. And so this right now I have on a lighten layer. I might change this to a linear light. but probably keep it on lighten for now and then just build it up, because as we know, we want to make sure that we got multiple layers that build rather than just trying to do everything on one big floppy layer, because you have a lot more control over that. And so then this one that's called eyes copy is not, it's the full image. I'll just call it full image for now. And so that this, let's zoom back out, Command 0, and you can see I'm intensifying these flames here. And I'm going to end up next steps. I'm going to do the eyes just because I love the eyes. I love doing eyes. And so after this, after I get the eyes kind of dialed in a little bit more, I'll do a vignette, and I'm going to darken some areas that are, I'll do some burning and dodging and play around with that. I might intensify your lips a little bit, not much, but this feels a little bit dull here compared to how the rest of the stuff is going to go. And I might actually, depending on the time that we have, I might end up adding some kind of like flaming effects. Not actually like adding, maybe I will. Maybe I'll see about like copying some of this and like throwing it into her hair. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to have enough time for that, because I want to finish this today, throw it on my Patreon, and call it that for this one. But yeah, that's what I'm working on. Let me check. Okay. All right, cool.
Are you just doing desktops right now, or are you also doing like mobile wallpapers?
No, I got some mobile wallpapers too.
Cool.
Was it last week? Let me find that real quick. Oh, where did I have that saved? Hold on. Well, I think it was last week's. I actually did 2 of these last week. Photoshop artwork. Oh my god, it's so small. I'm trying to find this. I think it's under here. I'll show you. Yeah. So let's. Okay, this is one of them. This is a vertical one from a dragon that I did. So in last week's, I was doing a desktop background. Was it this one? I don't think it's this one, but I'll just open this one anyway. I opened up the wrong Photoshop. I'm on Photoshop beta, but here it wasn't this one, but this is another desktop background that I'm working on. But no, you go away. We don't need you anymore. Let's see. That's this one. Oh, it's this guy. So this is the, as it loads up, this is the desktop background, the full desktop background that I got going. And this happy dragon dude, I ended up turning into just a mobile background by himself. And it's Dragon Philip is what we called him. And I actually have a patron. His name is Philip. And so this is his background. Like I've kind of named him.
Nice.
So yeah, there's that one. And then I have some dragon eyes. If I can pull them up real quick, I will. Let's see here. So that's the square one. So this is one of them. This is actually the one that I used as a as the animated dragon that I showed you. I think I showed you on our first Create With Me session. Yeah. So this I have as a vertical, but I also have it as a horizontal. It actually was started off as a horizontal. I do a lot of backgrounds that are just vertical to begin with. Oh yeah, that's the animated one. Oop. And then, like I told you, I'm really into eyes. It's just kind of my thing. Let's see. Do I have?
Remember, I did a video edit with the eye opening effect, and I freaked everybody out. I'm not allowed to do eyes anymore. So
Yeah, yeah, that's right, because we were talking about that's where you started talking about
Gemini Man.
Gemini Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so I got this month's theme, the ones that are going to be released on June 1st, so I guess it's June's theme, is dragons and kind of like fantasy. And so like I'm working some things that aren't dragons into it, like this here. Um, but I'm a big fantasy nut, so here you go away. Close off this Photoshop, the old Photoshop. Who needs old Photoshop nowadays? Photoshop beta, Photoshop beta keeps getting updates. This is, I think today was, I did a third or fourth update to Photoshop beta, so they're constantly working on it, and it's damn good. Um, I mean, hell, even let's see if I where did I put it? Is it this one? No, I put it in a folder. Yeah, called Keep. So I liked this, even though it's not what I was going for. But like this generative, her eyes are crazy, and those need to be adjusted. But like overall, this is kind of like a Phoenix Rising kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I dig it, and it does such a phenomenal. Again, not the eyes. The eyes are terrible there. This is better in the sense that like her eyes are closed, but yeah, Photoshop beta. I keep wanting to say beta. Photoshop beta is pretty incredible, like with how well it can do eyes and hands. Dude, hands, it gets right more often than not, and the hands are traditionally a very difficult thing for AI to kind of get right.
Hands are so hard, dude. Hands are so hard for even not just AI.
Yeah. Well, even in like the regular artist, like drawing artist community, hands are one of the hardest things because they're like so complex to get right. Um, sorry, that's my wife. She knows that I'm live streaming. She didn't look at my texts, but she doesn't ever look at my texts. I told her I was going to be on live stream. I love you, honey. All right, so yeah, we're gonna do that guy there. That actually might be a little bit too much. And let's duplicate that. So, whoa, way too intense. Okay, so I got maybe a little bit of hard light, maybe a linear light. So this is actually a very nice change of pace. I've been doing a lot of design work this last week,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's why I apologize for being incognito on incommunicado. Incommunicado. It's been nuts, but yeah, this is nice just to get kind of into the flow of Photoshop. I really enjoy Photoshop. I didn't really do much of it for a long time, but it's a place of happiness, that's for sure. Okay, so there we go. So yeah, that's not bad. Oh. So I think I'm gonna leave the eyes there, and then just for now, so for the followers, the folks following along here, I have talked at length about not staying too focused on one spot and kind of moving on to the next, because go back and visit it, but don't dig too deep into one spot and like agonize over it, because more than likely you're gonna just get too far into the weeds, and you're gonna you might end up changing it towards the end anyway, and just like eliminating most of the work that you did. There's a term for it. I'm trying to think of the term, but you get kind of like blind. You know the term?
Nope.
Bryan? Yeah.
Nope.
God. Tunnel vision. There you go.
Yeah, that I know.
Yeah. You get tunnel vision into like, oh yeah, this thing, and it ends up being you'll do so much work getting into that thing that I just did this with a logo. I literally just had to do a logo, and I got so engrossed in the process of like, oh yeah, the story of the logo and is this, and like these elements mean this and that and whatever, and like I just like smacked through doing the logo, and I knew better, and I should have let myself just kind of like chill, give my stop like when I was done, and before delivering it, give it some fresh eyes, because that's what you do. You're supposed to do that. I know that. I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm like, I don't have time, so I just have to, I'm under the gun. And I looked at it the next day, and oh god, it was terrible, garbage. I'm like, who did this? Like, I remember like in the moment being so like, this is great, but it was just so overdone, like way overdone. It needed to bake in the oven a bit more. So yeah, don't get tunnel vision. Now this needs to get adjusted before I get too crazy. This was something I didn't notice. It's very small. I don't even know if it's going to come across. Yeah, it's coming across on the stream. All right. And I will leave this on just to show people, and then I'll actually intensify this so that you can probably see it a little bit better. Maybe not. There's a line right here, that I'm not sure what it's from, but when you have it zoomed out like this, it's very evident because those are clouds back there, or it's supposed to be like a smoky environment. So, but we'll just call it clouds. And so that harsh line there is from something. Maybe when I did the generative fill. Yep, it's from the generative fill. So if you look here, yep, that's exactly where it was. And so, dummy me, one of the things you want to do when you do a generative fill, when you have a mask like this, is, actually, let me turn this back on. I'm going to bring these two layers up to the top so we can just take a look at those. So here's the, I'm going to do this too. Sometimes it doesn't like to play nice, so I'm just going to do that. Okay, so this is my original file. Right, so, and then I did a generative fill, and you can see where it did the generative fill. This happens often. With the mask, it doesn't feather it as well, but if you shut off the mask, it goes away. So if you just like turn off the mask, it feathers it in way better. So you can see there's the harsh line. Here's the nice feathering. So what I'm going to do, turn that back on, turn those guys off. This is one of the reasons why non-destructive editing is great. And so everything from here up is non-destructive editing, because I can just, I haven't done any erasing. I haven't done any permanent damage to this file, to this image here. So all I have to do is, I had merged all of these, turn off those ones there, so that it was baked into this one file. So now we're back to these images here. So let me turn off, I'm going to group these. I'm going to just say ADJ for adjustments. Turn that off. So now all I have to do is step back just a little bit. I can keep all those adjustments that I have, so I can just turn those on and off, right? And so all you have to do is shift click, and I'll turn off the mask here. So you see it's on, it's off, on, off. So now what I can do is create a new layer. Just put that there. Select that layer, Command Shift Option E if you're on a Mac. I don't remember exactly what it is. Just hit all the buttons that you have on a PC, and something will happen. So now we have that nice clean layer. So this was it. This is it now. So you can see that line. So I'm just going to get rid of this old merged, turn on my adjustments, and voila. See, there's no issues because I didn't like copy anything. I didn't erase. I didn't clone stamp. It's all just adjustment layers. So that's the power of masking with adjustment layers. Non-destructive editing. We love it. And so to pull it back over to what Bryan's doing, Bryan, you got a whole bunch of, I don't even know if you, well, I guess you could do destructive editing for what you're doing, but it's all node based stuff. So nothing gets like baked in. You're not copying an image and like pasting it in or erasing it. Like everything is basically masking. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there you can work destructively in visual effects, but we teach students from like their first couple classes is all about how to work procedurally, um, and work constructively. So I mean, it's just yeah, I mean, destructive workflows, like I said, they do exist. It's why we save often and we version up. But yeah, no. Thankfully, a lot of the softwares nowadays, specifically like Houdini, for instance, and Nuke, prevent that from happening for the most part. I kept trying to think of anything off the top of my mind that's like super destructive. I guess like the edit SOP, but like that's about it in Houdini, in my mind. So
Yeah. What do you tell students? Because I mean, it's harder. So for students that have played with the software, so like in Photoshop, in my example, you, if you're self-taught with Photoshop, you don't know about masking until you do, right?
right.
So it's, what's this one? Oh, that's the lighten. That's the wrong one. And so you learn how to just like copy something and erase the areas that you don't want. So you're essentially masking it, but not really. But it's the same thing as what masking does. And so as a student, you want to get better, but you just want the results. You don't want to go through the whole process of like, oh, I don't understand this. The pen tool sucks. You know, and back in my day when I learned the pen tool, it sucked. Nowadays, it's a lot better than it is or than it was. But what do you tell students to kind of like reduce that friction for doing it the way that it quote unquote should be done?
What do you mean like early on, like what do we do to we teach students step by step. So like kind of do as we do, not as you think.
Yeah. Do you ever
So
have kids that are just like they get frustrated and they don't want to show that frustration and they just keep doing it the way that they've always known to, or is the destructive path?
for lack of a better like explanation, they'll flame out.
Yeah.
They won't last very long. So if they have that attitude. So for the most part, they don't. Every now and then we will have a student that just shows up and is like kind of supposed to do things his way, and we're like, you know, the instructors will talk. We'll talk like, "Are you kidding me?" And that student just isn't going to make it. They may make it to the end of the program, but the likelihood of them being able to place well is not that good. And I don't mean this to knock students. I mean this to be like encouraging, because the ways that we teach, they work. Like that's just the reality, and we're trying to help you. I mean, if you want to work destructively, go for it. That's on you. But you're just gonna continue to hate life when things go wrong.
Well, and that's where the rub is, because it's like it might work right now fine. Like you might actually be able to get, depending on the destructive workflow versus versus a node, depending on, I don't know if they copy paste something and just like crop it out or something like that. Like you can band-aid fix it and do that, but then if you need to make any adjustments in the future, or if you need to hand it off to somebody else, I've had Illustrator documents that have been handed to me, and they're nightmares because it's just nothing but band-aid fixes, and the layer structure is non-existent. It's just everything is on one layer, or everything, like nothing's grouped together. Nothing's in, like, they don't have different layers to be like, oh, this is artboard 1, this is artboard 2, whatever. Like it's right. And so it might work well for you in a use case scenario, but when you get going and you try to scale, it doesn't scale as well.
Correct. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
mean it's just, and yeah, working in the industry, yeah, uh, it shocks me how many people work destructively. I've had Photoshop files, like in ways like it's like you had to actively go out of your way to work destructively.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and masks. That was like my world unlocked when I learned about masks, and I was in college when I.
Just lost your mic. Yeah, you're muted. Still can't hear you. Is it me? No, I think your mic is dead. Is it me? No, it's not me. Sound like your battery died on your microphone.
Should be able to hear me now.
Yeah, I can hear
Okay.
you now.
Yeah, I made the mistake. I whipped out my Wacom tablet, and as I did that, I knocked my Yeti mic's USB.
Oh, yeah, that's what it
So
sounded like. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know exactly where I knocked it, but masks. It was like when I learned that, I didn't learn that till I went into design school, and um, it was like the world just unlocked. Where is this thing? Oh, this isn't gonna work. Okay, dummy. I'm okay. No Wacom for me tonight. I didn't map it to have two screens. I've only had it mapped to one screen for the longest time.
Oh, dude, I've done
So
that. So I have my
yeah,
Wacom right here, and I'm like, oh man.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that's all right. I can just use
yeah.
it the old
I used
fashioned way.
to I used to model with my Wacom. I do
Yeah, I was
3D.
gonna ask about that because you were rotoscoping. So does it help with the rotoscoping?
No, actually, so for rotoscoping, I actually prefer to use a mouse. Ironically, I mean, you can do it with the pen, but it doesn't make it faster. Now, I used to actually 3D model with my stylus, and that's because I was like, I just want to be the cool kid. It's like, hey, look at me, I'm so good at what I do, and it worked. It was also because, like, when you work so much, you're like, I have like carpal tunnel, like my hands, my wrist is hurting right now a lot. Um, and that's because it comes with what we do. That's exactly what we do. So, thankfully, it's not as bad as it could be because I stretch and I exercise and I make sure to stay healthy. But yeah, so for a while I was using the stylus, but ironically, I've actually been painting more with the mouse lately than anything else. But like substance and stuff. So, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean, geez, I don't remember when I got a Wacom tablet, but it's awesome. I have the what is it, Intuos? I got the Intuos. It's just got a few buttons on the top, like four buttons on the top,
yeah,
but it's amazing for this kind of stuff. Especially when you want a little bit more control, and like I'll find myself rotating the screen quite a bit, and just like it just feels so much more comfortable. And like you said, the I get tendonitis, which doesn't flare up often, but when it does, it sucks. So it's hard for like a mouse. And it doesn't bother me nearly as much
yeah.
um, with the tablet. So let's see, I'm gonna darken that quite a bit here. So, for those that don't know, I am dodging and burning right now. So, dodging is lightning, burning is darkening, and so I'm just going through and I'm playing with the different highlights and everything. So, I want to bring more attention to the fact that like her flame is like really what's illuminating things, and so wherever the illumination would be highest. So obviously here, and it's like on her cheek, the orange yellowy areas, but then I want the darkness to be much darker, right? So I want to add that. You can see, whoops, not turning on the whole thing. You can see changing that contours her face differently. And so it's very bright, very dark. I want that kind of tenebroso effect, which is just extreme shadows um, or extreme contrast. So that's kind of what I'm going for. That's kind of the thing I like. Go to Studio, if people know that term. But it also, pulling it back to what we were talking about earlier, it helps to hide some of the imperfections. There aren't really any imperfections in this that I'm looking to hide. She does have this weird mole right there that I'm going to get rid of. So again, a non-destructive thing I'm going to do here is I could do it on this merged layer. You know what? I'm actually going to copy this merged layer as soon as I finish saving. So I'm going to Command J just to copy it. Because it's always good to have a version of that. So you don't have to go back and do all the hijinks that I did before. But if you do a little new layer right here, click on that guy. And I want to do, I'm just going to try the spot healing brush. So that's this guy here. If you click and hold up here on this little band-aid, if you don't see the spot healing brush tool, you might have something else, but it defaults to that. You can see this kind of like a hidden menu here. I'm going to do the spot healing brush tool. I'm going to expand my brush, and I'm just going to click right there, and voila, it's gone. But it's on this layer. So if I turn this off and on, you can see it's gone. And so if I were to have done something weird like this and kind of screwed it up, and I didn't notice until way later, I can just go back here and hit erase. This is one of those cases where it's totally fine to erase because I'm just erasing this heal. I'm going to call it a heal layer. So I typically will do that. So, so let's go back here. I got to do the stamp tool. I mean, no, I'm sorry, the healing brush tool. And then another thing. Oh, I did something that I shouldn't have done. Hold on. I have sample all layers here. So why I don't want that. It actually might not cause a problem. It's not that big a deal. But one of the best things to do is, in this case, it didn't make a difference, but it can make a big difference if you go down the rabbit hole and have a whole bunch of adjustment layers going on. So what I want to do, we're just going to do that there. Don't do sample all layers. Clone stamp tool. This is the one that's current and below. Do current and below versus all layers, because if you do that, then it's only going to be your heal layer and the one below it, which is the merged. In my case, it's merged copy. And so here, just going to sample this. I'm going to paint that on. I also have this on a much too transparent background. There we go. Okay, cool. And so that way I'm not taking anything from the adjustment layers. So, but so where were we? Oh yeah, we were dodging and burning. How difficult is it, Brian? I assume that you guys use the same terminology with like dodging and burning. Whether or not it's actually, do you guys use those terms in VFX?
No, I mean in Photoshop we do, but it's not. So we talk about black point, white point, crunching your blacks, blowing out your highlights. We'll use different terminology.
Okay, so it's very similar to, it's just like video editing.
Yeah. It's very close. We typically will work with video editing terminology.
Yeah, the most VFX that I've ever done, and it's not. Well, actually, I'll show it to you. I think I can pull it up here easily enough. I don't think it's going to have the sound though. So Yeah. So I don't think this is going to play the sound.
It is.
Oh yeah. So that was just
Excellent.
that was in DaVinci Resolve, and so
Yeah.
that was using Fusion, and so it was. I mean, it's VFX, but it's not to the level. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to do
Yeah.
that. Definitely not to the level of what you guys are doing, but that was a very heavy node structure.
Yeah.
And if you asked me how to do it today, I would have a very difficult time because I had to look up some tutorials and whatnot to do some of this stuff because uh, I don't touch Fusion a lot. I want to touch it more, but I don't use it as much. I don't need it as much with what I'm doing, so I end up getting rusty very quickly. It's kind of like with Blender. I was telling you, I was really getting into Blender for a while, um, and I did a really good job. Like I was hustling doing it, like learning it. I made I don't know how many donuts. There's the Blender donut tutorial, um, and it was awesome. But then I let a little bit of time lapse by, and I the user interface. I'm like, how do I move? How do I adjust to go left and right? Like, and so I'm relearning over and over again. So it's kind of the same thing with Fusion. I want to get better with it, but um, I don't have any real need to. So I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. No. We call that motion design. It is technically a visual effects. It's more like
Yeah,
motion design is where visual effects, well, CG, computer animation, kind of blends with motion graphics. And so it's motion design. I actually do a lot of motion design myself. It's a lot of title sequences and stuff. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Um, yeah, I mean, that's the thing though. Like, this industry is just so complicated. It's so complex. You never stop learning. So
yeah. Well, and I think honestly, like it's what keeps me interested. That's another reason why I started getting into Blender. Was we had a there was a project that I knew we could do better if we had some 3D visuals and like the ability to like once you set up the 3D scene later on you could like fly through the scene. It was a roadway improvement project, and um, it was for actually out in LA, not LA, but it was out towards LA. It might have been I-10 or the 10. Sorry,
mhm.
it might have been the 10 that was like getting an expansion, and so I thought it would be really cool rather than just having a static image. You can in Blender or Maya or whatever. I assume in Maya, but I'm not sure. You can make a 3D like basically a road, and then have different cars on it, and then you could say, "Hey, this is what it's going to look like," and you could just put your camera down at whatever angle that you need, and then later on you could add, as the project keeps going, you could add another lane to show like this is it. So it was all based for static design, but it
Mhm.
gave me a lot more flexibility, or would have given me a lot more flexibility to rotate the camera and say like, oh, I want this shot, or I want a little bit lower, or um, whatever it is. And ended up going with God, it's a defunct program now, but it was Adobe Dimension.
Oh yeah.
It was not what it was meant to do, because I had so many cars and trees, and like the polygons that were in that thing were insane. And Dimension was not built to like make scenes like that. It was supposed to be like, here's a Coke in the supermarket or whatever. Um, but then uh, Dimension disappeared because they bought Substance, and so I started to play with Substance 3D. But then anyway, that was during a transitional time. We didn't end up finally. We did actually deliver a really good product, but it was such a hassle to use Dimension. Like anytime I would open the program, it would take like 5 minutes just to open the file, and then to rotate the camera because there's so many polygons on there. It would just take forever. It was untenable to use. So
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's like using Softimage in this day and age. So
I'm gonna have to come up with a name for this chick because I don't have a name. I like to have these people named, but um, I'll probably throw it out there. I don't think we have some people watching, but we don't have many. Nobody's commented yet. Let me.
I tried typing it earlier, but I wasn't getting any. It wasn't actually chatting for me, which is weird. Oh, because you did the old link. That's why.
Oh
Never
yeah,
mind.
yeah. So yeah, you put in a thing. So yeah, there's that Riverside thing. I don't know if I talked about it earlier. I know that I talked to you about it off camera, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm kind of liking the pink eyes. Like that's kind of intense. I like that. I don't know if that's too intense. Actually, you tell me
It's too
because
intense.
it's too intense. Yeah,
It's too intense. Yeah.
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 That's what I feel like, but like at the same time, I love it. You know.
Yeah.
Um, listen to Bryan, guys, and trust your gut.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
Yeah, no, don't really. I'm just trying to be nice because you're a guest. So
Yeah. Don't listen to me.
like that. Something about it though. Um, yeah. So I for those of you that use Riverside, that's what I was going to be using today. It's what I have been using um, recently for live streaming because I really like the fact that I can. I use it for a lot of recordings. It does a great job with the local recordings, and then you can like manipulate later on. You can make 16 by 9. You can make like a vertical format from like my camera, your camera, and the screen recording can all be like mashed up in different ways, and it does a lot of the work for you rather than having to bring it into like DaVinci for me. um I guess that's better. Still probably kind of intense. Part of the problem too, I learned, is that I get this bright light right in front of my face, and so it makes things look less intense. I'm going to keep it like that for now. But anyway, so they released a beta version. They didn't say it was a beta version, or maybe they did, but I didn't expect to automatically be enrolled in the beta thing. So they're trying to get a little bit better with their live streaming, which I give them props for because everything else is awesome. Their live streaming lags behind someplace like StreamYard. But I mean, StreamYard, that's what their specialty is. So makes total sense. But I made the link, and then I went to go link everything to test some stuff out in Riverside, and lo and behold, I was automatically enrolled in the beta, and they couldn't pull me away in time. So that's why I have that dead link, which got rid of, but hopefully everybody else was able to find it. I updated the links where possible, but long story short point, that's why you have been entering into the wrong chat.
Yeah. Well, I chatted in YouTube, but yeah, for some reason it just wasn't coming through, which is no big deal. I just thought it was. I did it before we went live.
Yeah. So that it did. I responded to it. I saw it, and then after that was when we had the issue. I might leave this where it's at. Let me see. So where's my other adjustment layer? I put it under. Oh, it's under full image. So this is just some additional overall darkness. Let me do one more burn layer because I really want that darkness here. That's way too much. But what happens if I just bring this down? Don't put it onto overlay. Okay, so I'm going to do like maybe a multiply. Oop, not darken. Sorry. Clicked on it too early. Okay, so we're going to do that. And then I'm going to, this is way too much, so I'm just going to dial it back. This is just a copy of the burn layer. And X to... Okay. Sorry, that was the wife again. If I need to, I'll mute my mic and see what's up, but I think she's just trying to tell me that she's on her way home. Actually might be pretty good. Let's see. Okay, yeah, she's good. Let's see. So I'm going to turn off my light here in just a second, just so that I can actually see everything, see my screen right. I'm dark, but that's normal. Okay, so that's her. I actually really like her, just like that. I could easily go too deep into the weeds. I might dial back those eyes a little bit more later, but right now I like the way that they're looking. And so I think I'm going to call her done because I don't want to go. I want to have fresh eyes on it because I could go. There's a few things that I could play with, but overall I think that she's really good. So that is it. For those that are watching later on, they can tell me what her name should be. I might actually. I'll ask people on Patreon. I really like to kind of give people some input on this stuff. So I'm gonna save this out. I will add that on my Patreon. I'll share it onto. I'll share it onto my socials too. The smaller version, but I'll wait till after I decide if I'm gonna keep her eyes intense like that. Bryan hates the intense eyes, so
I hate the intense eyes.
yeah. No, I know you did. But yeah, let me see what other ones. We got more time if we want it. How you feeling for time over there?
I'm good. I'm just drawing lines.
Okay, yeah. Oh, you know what? Let me pop up my my stable diffusion so I can show some folks here. So just to kind of walk back through part of this process here. So this was one of the files I was actually going to do earlier, and then I came across this one, so I decided to go with this one here. I got a couple different versions. Oh, this is the upscaled version of the one that I just showed you, so we're not going to worry about that. There's this one that has that awesome claw there. I have no idea what the claw is about, but I like it. So, and then there's this one, which I did by accident, an old one. This is a Felicia model. If those who were looking at that dragon, the woman riding the dragon, we called her Felicia. So this is the same character, just younger and blonde. So, oh yeah, I got this guy here. I don't know why. Come on, there you go. So, I got some studio photos that I was getting into a little while ago, and I'll show you that in a little bit as we go further down. But from my tutorial last week, these are some of the frogs from my tutorial. Did a whole bunch of mimics from Dungeons and Dragons. So this is what that video was from Friday. So playing with the different styles and trying to dial in the look that I was going for, and playing with image to image versus seeds, and prompting differently. Then of course we have a baby golem, which actually might be a lot of fun. Let me find him really quick, because baby golem is a lot of fun. I could do that, not for this month, but maybe next month. I'll do a like a Lord of the Rings, maybe like a Lord of the Rings baby series. That might be fun. Baby Gandalf, baby Gollum. think that sounds good. I'm gonna do that. So yeah, so there's Gollum. I'm gonna maybe I'll work on him right now, but I don't think so. So let me bring back draw things, and then we got this is a Yoda Gollum hybrid, baby Yoda Gollum hybrid. This one I didn't take. I took the prompt from somebody else on Civit AI. I don't know how to pronounce it, but um, and so that was I was trying to recreate that and play with the model that I knew and adjust for it. So yeah, and here's some different things. It's really difficult with certain models to get them to show feet, like to show the full body. I was trying to get like the boots on the ground, and like I put up um, plated boots. Like I even said like on a grass field. So a lot of times like that's where you get more legs because it has to show the field. But I was really trying to get that, and I got this one here so you could actually see her boots. It's awesome. But then her face isn't really that good because it's not putting as much detail into the face. Um, so this one I really, really liked, and this is the one that I showed in the very beginning where I expanded out to make a desktop background. So I look forward to doing that. So these are supposed to be like kind of older Valkyries. And so just kind of playing around. And then this is the series with the dragon, and this is another thing where you can see here I got a beautiful lady riding dragon in the sky. It couldn't figure out how to do dragons in the sky, so it did a horse, and she's a dragon, so that's where she get the wings. But anyway, yeah. So then we got some of this is that one from the actual video last week with Create With Me. I pulled out her wings and expanded it and did all sorts of other things. So and then a ton of dragons. I got these kind of like neon punk bioluminescent mushrooms that I'm playing with that just to try some stuff out. I tried to make her really sad and get the model to like show despair, not just being happy. You see a lot of like basic photos and like it's hard to find it to get it to be like scared or sad. So this was like deep sorrow, anguish, mournful, furrowed brow, like trying to describe all sorts of different things. It did a good job with her being like exactly how I wanted, but the face doesn't feel natural. Like I think the lips feel kind of plasticky and like the eyes aren't quite right. So actually, let me see. I need to export this one out because I didn't. And while I do that, why don't I go over to scripts? Just do an ultra sharp here. I didn't end up saving this into my file. For those that are using Stable Diffusion, you can have the program automatically saved to your hard drive. I use it on my external SSD. But if you don't have that external SSD or that external drive connected at the time, it won't save it. It'll put it into, I don't know if it's like a temporary file or whatever, but it puts it here, and then you can export it individually if you want to. What I'm doing here is I'm upscaling this image. And so I went over to scripts, and then you'll have different options here based off of the different upscalers that you've installed, which you would do over here in advanced. And you can see here it says 4K ultra sharp. I can't click on it right now, but it's thinking. But normally what you, yeah, okay, now I'll be able to. So you'll be able to see a lot of different options here. There's probably, if you're using draw things, these will come up as your defaults. And so different ones will work differently for different models. And so 4X Ultra Sharp does a really good job for this Juggernaut version 9 photo lightning guys. So what I'm going to do here, so I guess we'll just work on this guy right now because I'm curious. So last week we discovered how good Photoshop was with the eyes. It did such a good job with the eyes. I was just so enamored. So let's just duplicate because it's always just a good idea to duplicate. we're going to select her face, but just, yeah, look at where those eyes are. They look so drawn in. And before we do this, why don't we do what I normally do? Am I going to make this vertical? Am I going to make it horizontal? Maybe I'll just keep it. I'll keep it for now. So yeah, we'll just keep it for now. Maybe this will just stay a square one. So let's do this. Let's see what happens if I just add like a glasses layer. I'm not making them glasses, but just kind of give AI. Let's see what happens. Rather than just circling just where the eye is, I want to give it a little bit of space to kind of feather the effect of the eyes. And then I could do some manual adjustments after that if I need. Okay, yeah, those eyes aren't great. That's terrible. They don't look as bad as the original eyes, but they're way too close together. That could work. She's looking. Yeah, so that's not going to work. So let's do this, and then let's try generating again. Those are the best of the eyes, but I don't want her actually looking into the camera. I'd like her to like be looking off in the distance. Like, so the idea behind this photo is that she's lost everybody. She was in a battle. Oh yeah, okay. So the eyes aren't the eyes aren't winning on this one. This is kind of creepy. That I mean, depending on what the story is, it could work. Oh hey, what's up? It's D Will. He's in the comments. What's going on?
What's
D Will?
up, D Will?
Mr. Untapped TV. What time did you say that? Oh, just a minute ago. Here you go. I'll even highlight you. Look at that. Untapped TV. Yo. We are working on some crazy eyes right now, D. These are kind of demon eyes. So these are the original ones here. And then I'm trying to see what Photoshop does. I'm curious. Okay, let me see if I just select like the eyes. So click there. And then if you're trying to, in Photoshop, add to your selection, you hit Shift and then click, and you'll be able to add just to that. And now you can say, I'll just hit generate. D-Will says, I can see that. Are you making a pun? Oh, D-Will's got good names. Hold on, I'll show D-Will that. Oh my God. What? Nope. That's a lot of nope. That's not right. Okay, so I don't think we're really gonna get the result that we want. What if I just say sad eyes and hit generate? We'll try that. Puns just come naturally from me. Yeah, well, that's true. You should be a Jungle Cruise skipper, man. We could actually start a skipper stream. I didn't know it, but my dad was training me to be a skipper my whole life. Oh, that actually did a much better job. Oh. Shoot. I'll just say shoot. Oh, wow. Okay, so if you give it... Damn. Okay. So you got to give it that prompt. And, I mean, those eyes aren't perfect, but they are definitely better than the other options we've had. So this, well, Jesus, that's nightmares. Like, okay, so this is probably the best set of eyes that we had. But then when I gave it the prompt, sad eyes, versus just fill with whatever you think. Like, it knew to do eyes before, but like, this is way better. I think this is probably the best. But I don't want her, let's see, sad eyes, looking off in the distance. See what it does there. After this, D, I got to show you the one that I finished, the desktop background that I just finished about 10 minutes ago. And you can tell me what you think her name is. because I need to get a name on her. I like to crowdsource the names. Oh wow. So that's the wrong direction, but that's way too much. Like she doesn't look sad. She she looks like I don't know, she is upset but like just irritated. That's an irritated eye. Okay. So let's actually turn this one off. Let's put this one back on and say use the same prompt because this has more area to choose from. So we're going to say side eyes looking off in the distance. Let's generate. Oh, I forgot to show you the image, D. I'm sorry. I know you're waiting for it. These aren't quite hitting. But you know what we could do? Okay, before I go over to the next one. Oh, no, not Baby Yoda. Baby Gollum. This one. D, that I need to figure out a good name for her. So look at the photo, think of the photo, and I'm going to switch it back. So we're going to get back over to, this is Macabre. How do you pronounce that? Do you know, Bryan?
Macabre?
Macabre?
Macabre.
Yeah, I always say like macabre, but I'm also French, so it's macabre. Like, you know, that's where my brain goes. But all right, so actually, I think we're gonna keep. I don't know if we want that one, but all right. So let's just do that, and then I'm gonna create a new layer, merge it, all those buttons, and then we're going to go up to filter, neural filters, and see what happens if I adjust where her eyes are a little bit. Got hit with an ad. Got hit with an ad just as you showed it. You think that that's a coincidence, D-Will? All right, pay attention to what's on the screen right now. And then you get hit with an ad?
Yeah, I got hit with that ad too. That's pretty funny.
Nice. Okay, well, can I open it from here? No, I can't. I'll show you in a sec, D. Like another 2.5 minutes whenever the next ad break is. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the eye smart portrait. Let's see. So I've tried playing with this a number of times. Most of the time, it doesn't do a good job. Most of the time, it feels very unnatural. Like the age and hair thickness end up just kind of like almost doing nothing. Like you can see that it does some stuff, but it's not even close to realistic. And I understand this is AI working. Did it adjust the eyes? It says it's done. I don't think it adjusted the eyes. Hold on. Oh, I mean, it did something to the eyes, but so is that the original is better? Okay, yeah, that was terrible. Okay, D, are you ready? Because I'm going to show it to you this time. Don't get distracted by any ads. Ready? 3, 2, and 1. There it is. All right. So what I was saying is that she needs a name, and so you have to figure it out. I'm crowdsourcing. All right. So let me try. I like that one, but let me just try one more thing. Now, where are the good eyes? So those ones are okay. They're better than that. Which I probably will actually just stay with that. Is these ones here? These ones here. These ones actually had a pretty good one. She looks irritated. Like I just asked her to do something, like go get some groceries or, you know, find my phone for me. I don't know. So that's actually really good. So let's do that one. And we'll do that there. I don't know if that's actually necessary, but I wanted to be able to pull from all the information around it. So we're going to try that again with the eyes. All right, D-Well, you have 2.5 minutes. It's okay if you don't know. That's totally fine. You came up with Henry Winkler for your dragon, so I could also ask my patrons. They can kind of decide on it, or even just people on Facebook or Instagram. Um, okay, so eye direction. She's looking right at the camera. Maybe I think to the left. I don't know if that's going to do it or not, but let's see if this does a better job because she's looking directly in the camera. So I'm thinking that maybe it didn't do anything. It didn't. I mean, maybe. So this is that's the new one. That's the original. So I mean, these ones actually might be a little bit more realistic. Maybe let me pop her eyes over a little bit more. Maybe it's just too subtle. Well, actually, that it does feel a little bit. Can I zoom in here? Oh, it actually. Is that the new one? Yeah, that's the new one. That's the original. So it did kind of like face it over. Let's see what happens if I like really jank it up over here. What's interesting too is if you, I don't know if you can see this on live. There we go. That's a much better job. That's what we're going to go with. Okay, so that did a pretty phenomenal job. It's very subtle. So I think that when you go like all the way over to, let's see what happens when we go to 50. I'll go back over to like 38. I think. Yeah, so we don't want it to be that much. So this was really good, and I feel like it's probably because she was looking right in the camera, so it had a little bit. It's able to work with moving the eyes just a little bit. So I think that probably has something to do with it. I don't know. I'm kind of talking out my butt. If anybody from Adobe is watching, you can tell me. Actually, so let's do. I don't think this is going to work well because her mouth is open, kind of gaping. Oh, I should actually change the mouth because I think that that's like the last. Oh, that actually did a pretty decent job. Hold on. So if we do this, it makes her look more like what's the word? Like that's sunken. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Let's see what happens with the hair thickness. D Will says, "What the backstory? Oh, what's the backstory on Fiery?" So she is, if you know, did that change anything? I don't think it did. Let's go 50 for hair thickness. Do you know the fire elementals from Dungeons and Dragons? Oh, damn! It actually did a good job with the hair thickness on this one. It must be with the some of the new changes because let's see. No, change the hair thickness. We're going negative now. Come on. Not like no hair. She's got all kinds of hair. Let's go over to no hair. Oh yeah, it's not doing it. Okay. That's fine. That was just to test it. So I think we'll go with that. This is the original. I need to change those lips. They still feel kind of plasticky, so I think what I'll do is do another one of these. I'll get to your question in just a sec, D. Sad mouth? Like I don't know. You know what? Actually, let's do. We're just playing. We're experimenting. Let's do a little bit like this and do like. Full of anguish. I don't know if telling it what I just told it, sad, full of anguish and crying. I don't know if that's going to make any sort of effect with the mouth or not. But the idea is that I want her to be like, you know, sad face. You know, I have a terrible cry face. Who do you think you talking to? I think I'm talking to somebody who. Oh, do I know D&D? Who do you think you're talking to? Yeah, but did I say D&D is? Well, that's not right. I see where it's going, but like that's not. Like that's a little bit better, but that's not where I'm gonna go. So what happens if I give it nothing and just say generate? Did I say D&D? Because I meant Magic the Gathering. So Magic the Gathering, they have fire elementals, and the old school fire elemental card was just this woman that's just like made out of fire. Okay, it's not. I don't think that's gonna do what I want. The smalt is fine. So, but yeah, so that's the deal with the fire lady. So to come back here, it's her in like the initial steps of becoming fire, the fire elemental. Like she's in her human form, and now she's transitioning. She's like flame on, right? So it's like that moment, and so she's starting to like her eyes are starting to glow, and I might dial these back a little bit or adjust the color that's coming from them. Right now, I'm really digging it. And actually, I got to change this. I didn't even see that. See, fresh eyes, man. Fresh eyes do it all the time. So let's see. Do I want to stamp it? Do I want to? Oh, you know what? Let's just see what generative fill does. I don't want to say that I'm getting lazy, but if it can resolve issues like this without much pain, you could do this with the clone stamp tool. You could do this with the patch replacement tool. You could do this with the spot healing brush. I would recommend, if you were to use a spot healing brush, or if you use the healing brush, not the spot healing brush, the healing brush works a lot like the clone stamp tool, and that you can pull texture from an area. So I could like sample this, and then the healing brush tool will work just like this clone stamp tool in the way that you use it, but it pulls from different information, and that did it. So yeah, I'm gonna let generative fill do generative fill's thing, because it did what I needed, and it took like a second. And I might. I think what I'll do is actually. Whoops. Shift 10, bring back the flow quite a bit, and I'm just going to bring some of that back in. I'm painting on this mask here. So obviously, D, you said that you know D&D. So who's your character? Like, what kind of character are you? Like more into dwarves? Do you like the dragons? Do you like orcs? What's your thing? What do you identify with? Is that bringing back too much? That brings back too much. What about you, Brian? Do you ever get into D&D?
Yeah, I played it about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
All my friends still play it, but I haven't really been playing it too much.
It's making a resurgence. My niece was asking me about it, or she was actually talking about it and didn't realize that it was such an old game.
Yeah, it's definitely making a resurgence.
Let's see. So we like that. Let me. Did you want to show anything on your screen? Do you want to show where you're at, or no?
Yeah, I can show exactly where I'm at right now. I'm doing something stupid that's I'm probably not gonna keep, but yeah, let me reshare. So I just got Pyro working.
Oh, D. Will says, I build bards. Bards. That's one that I never really got into that. But I was more into like the I did quite a bit of thieves, like the like I don't know, were they called hobbits? They weren't called hobbits. They were called something else. Basically like hobbit thieves. I like doing that. And warriors, of course.
Got the sim going. Well, it's not even a sim. I got the animation going. for this. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to drive the animation right now. I'm just doing it real quick, see what it would look like if I threw a solver on it real quick. I'm using Axiom right now. But this is what it looks like.
Oh yeah, and you said that the whole area is going to get destroyed. Like
yeah. What I did, to see this better, just drew a bunch of curves, and then I threw an infection solver over it, for a pyro solver, so you can see it right here. Where is it? Hold on, let me turn this off. There it goes. So you can see the pyro solver go off like a fuse, and then I made it faster, and then I got rid of the rest. So here's what it looks like. It's kind of hard to see. There you go. It's like really, really fast. I'll throw a trail on so you can see it better. There you go. And so basically it's going to, the first one's going to be lightning coming out, and then the ground is going to destroy behind it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So this kind of process, because you pretty much rotoscoped that guy out already.
No, I mean, I'll do it later. I'm doing a little bit of rotoscoping here and there whenever I want to like put Netflix or something up on the left screen.
Yeah.
And just check out. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I should have been rotoscoping during like your sessions. I mean, not to say that your sessions are boring. I'm just saying like,
yeah,
that's when I should be rotoscoping. I think D will just spit out his drink right now. After what I just said. So. Oh, he just left. Dang. Yeah.
Gotta catch my train. See you later. All right. Hey, thanks, D. Oh, gnomes. Yeah. Gnomes was it. Yeah. No, that's looking awesome, man. So when do you think how many more hours do you think it's going to take? You said you might turn this into completion.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how much hours I can actually devote to this right now. The problem is I can't finish any project right now because all the projects I start take so much time. Yeah. I'm hoping to be further along on this one. Like maybe next week. I might be available more Wednesdays than not going forward. I think last Wednesday, I forgot what I had going on. I had something going on last Wednesday that I wasn't available. I was preaching last Wednesday. But yeah, so for the most part on Wednesdays, I should be available going forward. But who knows? I don't know how much work I'm going to get on this, but I'm actually really excited because one of the art tests that we require of our students who want to embark on VFX, they have to do ground destruction, and so this will be great.
Oh yeah, that'll be awesome. Yeah, and so you're gonna have. Are you gonna do this in stages? The tutorial. So like, oh hey, here's this thing, and so this is stage 1 through 3 or whatever, and then.
Yeah, I'm in a little bit of a content drought again. After the last couple of weeks, I just posted a video right now for part 4. I already recorded 5 and 6 for the destruction series that I'm working on, and then I'm trying to record videos on the side. Now I had a request from a guy on my channel to do a match move. That's technically done, so I may record that and put that up there, and then I'll start working on it a little bit more. We'll see. They specifically asked for Houdini or for Nuke to Maya, so I did this in Nuke to Maya. That's why you had Maya open, but now I'm back in Houdini. I could have just done Nuke to Houdini really easily. So, but yeah, no, it's actually looking really good. I'm actually pretty excited about this. This is a stock animation, and if I can make a stock animation look good, I'm either going to get laughed at or people are going to be like, never hire this guy ever again. You know what I mean? Like,
but you know what's funny though too is like you got in Blender you have the default cube, and I've seen some fun stuff like the default cube being modified slightly, and like or the way that they do lighting or whatever with the default cube, and so it's kind of like a joke, but it's fun at the same time. So, and for someone like myself, I don't know that's a stock animation. That looks pretty badass, but
yeah.
So it's fun. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to be doing these every Wednesday, right? So, on my side of things, I'm going to primarily be doing mostly like at least for the foreseeable future, the like Photoshop and Stable Diffusion stuff, because I've had a lot of people asking about both. And so I've been doing some little like shorts here and there, and some that tutorial was one of them. That was a full video. So yeah, I'd love to have you on, and then I'm gonna D will join every once in a while too. So kind of leading up to the Create-a-thon, I want to do. I'm thinking in October. So and you and I can discuss that a little bit more offline.
Yeah.
And do kind of more of these workshop style things. So yeah, I'd love to have you on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll try to get more and more. I was only able to get that one short up. I only had so much time to get content down, but yeah, I'll definitely get more and more content out as we go along. Oh, this is
Yeah.
actually lagging me. There we go.
Oh, that's right. I took off your screen too, by the way, just so you know.
No, yeah, no, it's still sharing the screen, and it's like, oh, this is actually causing frame lag.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right, man. Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here. We're at the 2 hour mark just about. So, you and I can keep talking, but I'm gonna end the live. Do you want to say your outro?
Yeah, man. If anybody who watches this down the line, just remember, always be creating. Don't forget to check me out. I'm actually pretty heavily active on Twitter now. I was so anti-X/Twitter until about a month ago, and then I was like, all right, let's just go and do it. Now I am. So I'm pretty active. It's just Bryan and Holt on Twitter, and then of course my YouTube channel is really active. So yeah, I don't know what happened.
I'm gonna link all that to in the description and at the end, like I did last time. So
yeah, cool beans, man.
Right on, man. Well, until next time, everybody, be good to each other.